A mystery at sea.
I'll see you at the bottom.
He went into the water, he never came back out, he just vanished, right in front of that witness.
A world where nothing is as it seems.
Time goes by and the hours continue clicking.
They were looking for him, but they couldn't find him.
And a man whose past holds the key to his own disappearance.
Don't tell me how to live my life.
What is your emergency?
Yeah, I want to report I guess you could call him a missing diver. He's my dive partner.
God, come on, man.
Man, he got the surface. You need to send some folks out here to help me look for him.
Kerry, where are you?
It's not the first time Key West police get a call like this.
Sheriff's Department received a call from a diver. He was lobstering with his friend, Kerry.
Okay.
Kerry went into the water, and they didn't see him anymore, like he vanished in the water.
Glover's partner, Jeannie Hernandez, heads to the shoreline to meet up with Marine Patrol. Maybe the diver is still alive.
Anytime someone goes missing on the water or there's any type of distress, whether it's with a diver, a swimmer, a boater, there's always a great sense of urgency because your intentions are to conduct a search and a rescue of that person, not a search and recovery of a body.
Now remember, like I told you, you have to pay attention to these safety issues, Kerry. I'm not kidding you, man.
All I'm paying attention to are the fat lobsters down there and the bearded.
Yeah.
Okay?
If Kerry Scheele is still underwater, then there's not much time. His tanks must be almost out of air.
It was a race against the clock. Was he underwater unconscious? Had he been trapped? Those initial few hours are just thinking, we've got to find him and take care of him.
But there's no sign of Kerry Scheele, just the empty ocean. Diving accidents are not uncommon in Florida.
When you dive, you have to realize you're in an element that does not belong to you. And it's filled with all kinds of creatures, and some of them are extremely dangerous. You start playing all these scenarios in your head of these horrible things that could have happened to this diver. Sometimes divers panic. Maybe he's had a heart attack. Maybe he's been attacked by a shark.
After hours of searching, time has run out for Kerry Scheele. By now, his tanks are definitely out of air.
No one wants to make it a search and recovery, but it's a difficult decision to make as to how long a search will continue for a person in the hopes of finding them alive. But at one point, you have to just decide that we can't search anymore. We've looked everywhere. We've looked under every possible rock, under every bridge. We can't find him.
The next day, it's on to the grim task of recovering the diver's body. Typically, drowning victims are washed ashore within the first 48 hours.
We had several areas on land that we searched. There's so many little pockets and so many little areas of debris and things that come ashore. We did both a line and a grid search, checking every little area. We searched roads. Maybe he came ashore a couple of miles away by the current.
Look on the side of the road for any evidence.
But there's no sign of Kerry Scheele's body, not even his gear. Very strange.
We should have found something. We should have found particles of his clothing. We should have found Kerry.
Another tragic diving accident off the coast of Florida. Or is it? George Duker has investigated dozens of cases like this before.
Sometimes on the surface, it appears to be an accident. But when you look deeper, it's anything but an accident.
Duker's a highly trained professional in the field, and when it comes to searching for missing persons, he's seen it all.
Things are not always what they seem to be. You really have to dig deep in the investigation.
And that's just what happens, almost by accident. Detective Hernandez finishes the final incident report to close out the case when something curious catches her eye. A piece of information that leads straight to the dive shop where Scheele and his friend rented their tanks.
Hey, let me get the tanks. Remember, I'm the one that's certified.
I'll get my own tank.
We found out that Kerry's friend had actually rented the tanks for the dive, including the tanks that Kerry used. Kerry was not a trained or certified diver.
Yeah, but if they do check, you're not going to be diving today. And I don't want to risk it. Tell you what, I'll get the tanks.
Renting tanks for an uncertified diver is illegal in the state of Florida.
Why would you rent tanks for someone knowing they're not certified to dive? Because you're taking a great responsibility onto your shoulders for this person.
Right here. All these tanks for you?
Yep.
And then you think, what's going on within the dynamics of this relationship that perhaps would have brought Kerry to the end of his life? Was there an argument? You start thinking to yourself, all right, did you play with the tanks? Did you actually have them filled with air?
This is supposed to do that?
Could there have been something wrong with the tank that you rented for Kerry?
Service, I'll be right in.
I'll see you at the bottom.
You're killing me.
Perhaps there's just a little more to Kerry's disappearance than what initially meets the eye.
Has the search for a missing diver become a homicide investigation? Kerry Scheele has vanished at sea, but it seems there may be more to it than a simple diving accident.
When you do an investigation like this, you have to interview the person who called and reported the incident.
All these tanks for you?
Especially if that person also rented tanks for a diver who didn't make it back out of the water.
He was a little suspicious because he rented the dive equipment on the boat that went out.
So Detective Hernandez goes to talk to the witness who has suddenly become a suspect.
The disappearance of Kerry, you reported him missing the other night? He tried to recall the conversations they were having on the vessel, Kerry's attitude, if he noticed anything different. He was not overwhelmed with emotion, but he was emotional.
At first, Scheele's diving partner seems suspicious, but then he says something during the interview that makes police doubt that they're dealing with a cold-blooded killer.
He didn't seem to be worried about the fact that he rented the dive gear and shouldn't have. He seemed far more concerned with finding Kerry. He seemed to be bothered by the thought that he had a hand somehow in this person being harmed or dead.
It doesn't seem as if Scheele's friend is trying to hide anything, but Hernandez can't be sure. But where to start? There's no body, no crime scene. Who knows if there even was a crime? Only one thing is certain. Kerry Scheele is gone.
You have to go back and look at that person. You have to go back to the start. You have to interview people. You have to find out who they were, what their personality was. Girlfriends, boyfriends, significant others are a great source of information. Kerry Scheele's girlfriend probably knew him better than anyone else. So if there was a problem, she would probably know it.
It's up to Detective Glover to find out. He goes to talk to Kerry's girlfriend.
Kerry was living with a girl in Key West named Bonnie.
Hi, good morning. Are you Bonnie?
Yes, I am.
I'm Jake.
They had been living together for on and off for 2 years.
We sat down and interviewed her just to get basic information on what she knew about Kerry's dive experience. Did she know that he was not certified? Was he a risk taker? Did he have problems with his dive partner?
The answer is no.
She told us that Kerry had come to the Keys to start his life over. He was going through a divorce. Kerry was married with children.
Scheele had been struggling to get his life together.
Hey, Kerry. You got to sign your invoice again. All right.
He had bought a small business, a bread route, to deliver bread to the grocery stores up and down the Keys.
Then the girlfriend mentions something that immediately raises suspicion.
Hey, Pete. Did you ever give any thought of getting into the delivery business? I mean, it's just stacks of cash just sitting on the table.
We learned that Kerry had been trying to sell his business and was trying to move along or do something else.
I've got enough going on here with this business. You should really think about it. I mean, if you were interested, I'd sell you this business. I'd even throw the van in as part of the deal.
When you have someone that's missing, just prior to missing, he sells off possessions. He sells off his business. That's a red flag.
Why would you get rid of the only means that you have to make a living without a second plan right behind it to support yourself?
Questions that lead to more questions.
Were they in financial trouble? Did they have so much debt that they were running away from it and trying to start a new life?
The further we went along in the investigation, the more we realized that Kerry was trying to unload all of these financial burdens that he had.
And that's not the only burden he was trying to unload.
It came to light that not only was Kerry irresponsible financially as far as the debts that he owed, but he was not making his child support payments to his children. Okay, thank you very much. It started looking like maybe Kerry was just being irresponsible again and just packed up and walked away.
There are three possibilities. It was an accident, his friend killed him, or he's not dead at all. But what happens next could answer all of these questions.
Where and what's the location of the body? We received a call. There was an unidentified male body that had washed ashore. So we have no identification at all. All right, we're on the way. We'll be there as quick as we can. We're about 10 minutes ETA.
Could this be Kerry Scheele's body? A body washes up on shore. Could it be missing diver Kerry Scheele?
The description of the body was a white male, the general height and weight of Kerry's. We had no clothing description, bathing suit or wetsuit or any other information, facial hair, color of hair of anything. You guys got any witnesses or anything?
Maybe the mystery of Kerry Scheele's disappearance is about to be solved.
When we arrived on the scene, we discovered that it was not Kerry's body. We have another identified body. In the Keys, one of our main industries down here in tourism is, in fact, diving. And as we are surrounded by water, it's unfortunate, but we do have drownings every year. We do have bodies that wash up. And it creates a problem in identification and determining if this was a diving accident.
It's another dead end. There's still no trace of the missing diver, and not even a shred of evidence that could tell them what happened to Kerry Scheele.
Missing persons investigations are very different from other types of investigations. In a missing person case, what you really have is the absence of a crime scene.
Without being able to use any of the normal investigative tools, there's a good chance that this case will never be solved.
This is Detective Hernandez.
Until there's a call from an insurance agency.
We found out that Kerry had a $1 million life insurance policy on him and that a claim had been made on it by one of the beneficiaries within days of Kerry going missing. In Kerry Scheele's name, and the first 2 payments have been made. Normally, you wouldn't see an insurance claim filed until you had an actual body to place with that insurance claim. That's the whole idea behind life insurance. We don't have a body. We still have a missing diver, and there's already been an insurance claim filed, which was a little strange and seemed a little greedy in my book. So then a state investigator would assist with that on the insurance end.
The first beneficiary he had named in his $1 million insurance policy was his father. The second beneficiary was his girlfriend, Bonnie, which he was living with at the time of his disappearance.
You got to do something with your life.
It probably would have made us suspicious of that person, but the fact that it was Kerry's father, it was obvious that he was making this claim hoping that he could get the money for the surviving children versus the money going to the girlfriend.
Don't tell me how to live my life. I'm out of here. Thanks for nothing.
If Kerry is declared dead, the girlfriend is eligible for half of that money. So she's looking at $500,000 if Kerry is, declared dead or found dead, or by whatever means it's determined that he was lost at sea.
Money is an age-old motive for murder. People will commit that crime and devise a scheme to cover their tracks so no one will ever know. A girlfriend who might know the victim's schedule, what they do every day, probably would find it easier to devise a scheme to harm this person and then collect money.
A new lead has emerged. It's time to pay the girlfriend another visit.
I start leaning a little bit more towards the girlfriend, thinking if anybody had something to do with this, maybe it was her.
But when she gets to the apartment, Hernandez is in for a big surprise.
She had packed up and left town with a boyfriend still missing at sea.
Did the girlfriend kill Kerry Scheele in order to cash in? Kerry Scheele's girlfriend has skipped town. It looks like she had a hand in his disappearance in order to collect his life insurance.
We start really looking at her because the timing was just perfect. It seemed like she needed to get out of town, and she needed to get out of town now. We continued searching for more information that would link Kerry's girlfriend to his disappearance.
And then they find something.
We were able to come up with telephone records. The telephone numbers that we found to be consistently called were from Beloit, Wisconsin. We'll have those numbers ran and let's see if we can't figure out who they belong to. The telephone numbers that were being called in Wisconsin were Kerry's girlfriend's acquaintances.
What could they have to do with Kerry Scheele's disappearance? Now things have to move fast. Hernandez calls Beloit police and asks for help.
We forwarded all the information on Kerry's girlfriend, as well as photographs and information on Kerry, to the agencies.
Beloit officers descend on the house. A man is about to leave. Is it the girlfriend's acquaintance?
Right, see him?
Yes, but the real shock is who she's been working with. Kerry Scheele.
The officer stopped him, and he admitted to them that he was Kerry and that he had gone missing from a diving expedition in the Florida Keys.
And then, Kerry Scheele tells them what really happened.
He planned the dive trip, his disappearance. He planned the getaway so that he could meet with Bonnie after he faked his death and the new life that they were going to build in Wisconsin. He planned everything. Kerry convinced his friend to take him diving, him to rent dive gear for him. He swam to shore, dumped the gear off into bushes, walked up to the highway, and hitchhiked.
Where you headed?
As far north as you're going.
I'm going north.
Lucky day.
Come on in.
Kerry somewhere decided that this was no longer the life he wanted to live. He no longer wanted his financial responsibilities to his children. He didn't want to owe money anymore. He didn't want to work on a delivery truck.
He made this scheme to get this $1 million life insurance policy. He did not read the fine print.
Kerry didn't realize that his beneficiary could not collect the insurance money until the insurance company had a body.
In the end, Kerry Scheele's scheme didn't work out. He's arrested, but not charged.
We couldn't do anything as far as criminal actions against Kerry because technically he had not committed a crime. The only thing that Kerry could be charged with would be the cost of the actual search from the Florida Marine Patrol and the United States Coast Guard.
People who are desperate will do desperate things. And they don't think about everything else that's happening. They don't think about the search and recovery efforts. They don't think about the manpower. They don't think about the emotions that they're sending family members through. Although many missing person cases don't have a happy ending, at least this case, even though this person did something wrong, was found alive and unharmed.